because a man who has nothing between a strong word and a gun is a fool and or crazy, which brings us to mental health. And I'm going to turn this over to Chris. He is our resident mental health expert.
Hello everyone. Again, my name is Chris Mancebo. My regular full-time job is I am a veteran service officer up in Lassen County. So those of you who are veterans, basically you kind of know what that job is. We help veterans get their benefits and walk them through the paper process of dealing with the VA stuff. Now, in regards to that, I end up dealing with a lot of veterans who have PTSD, anxiety, depression, and other stuff. So I have some training from the CalVet, which is the California Department of Veteran Affairs. I'm a veteran myself. I deal with other veterans who have other stuff going on with them and try to talk to them about getting either help or what they need to do to navigate the VA and the VA process. So that also implies that my county has given me a smidgen of training on dealing with behavioral health issues, how to recognize them, and where to send people. So this component is required by California as part of SB 2. It's going to be roughly an hour long. It's going to cover a lot of different things other than just mental health issues. So when we're looking at this, we have a bunch of different issues that tend to happen related to stress in general. Whether it's your kids jumping out from behind a corner and yelling boo at you, near car accidents where someone slams on the brakes, anything that basically gets your body up and active and moving in a way that you are either not familiar with or weren't expecting. Who's familiar with the fight or flight syndrome? Okay. So typically when fight or flight situation is, again, a situation presents itself suddenly and you're not aware of it, and boom, your brain starts reacting, and so does your body. And because of that, and hence the why it's fight or flight, you may have had 100 incidences with the same thing and you're ready to go, put your fist up and ready to fight. But tomorrow, the same thing happens. The next thing you know, you're cowering in a ball and you don't understand why. Just because you've done it 100 times doesn't mean your brain's going to react the same way. This is again why we talk about doing stress training, because the more often you can do your stress training, the less like your body's going to act in a way that you're not used to. These issues cause psychological effects. Psychological means they imprint themselves in your brain. You know, we're all used to, again, men and women who've had kids jump out from here and we're like, okay, by the time you get to our middle age, kids will jump behind the room. We're like, yeah, go ahead. It doesn't bother you anymore. Your body's now used to that type of effect, psychological. So, third one down, increased heart rate and respiration. This again is another major factor. Depending on how bad that situation is, we get a lot of psychological and physiological things happening to our body. We start breathing heavier. We start breathing, we perspire, and because we have a bunch of chemicals dumping into our bodies that are making it so that we survive. So our heart rate goes up and we start breathing more to feed more oxygen to our brain, so we are observant and cognizant of what's going on. We may have certain centers of the brain shut down, but the brain is functioning, more blood is going because it's trying to make sure your nerves and everything are going, whether you need to fight or run. Pupils dilating, tunnel vision. You start focusing on something, the immediate threat, more than the aspects of your peripheral vision. A lot of people will talk about it. You go from here down to here. It's a normal reaction. So again, this is why earlier in our training we were talking about keeping your head moving your body side to side, so that even though your adrenaline and everything's going on in your system, you are actively being able to see what's going on and engaging the targets or the threats as needed. Muscles tighten up. Again, physical response. Stuff tightens up, it's trying to get more blood in there, reaction to the adrenaline that's dumped into your system. The big one, loss of fine motor skills. We've talked about that briefly before. Unless you're practicing certain things, it's hard to do. Again, part of our training, when we're talking about training for you guys, is some of it, and we'll say it again here later, is stress-induced training. The more you can do when your body's stressed out, where you got adrenaline going through your system, the easier it is for your body to respond to that stimuli that you need to interact with. The military does it all the time, whether we're using audio cues, we're having drill instructors or people yelling at us, people who've gone through corrections or police training to do similar things as well. But as civilians, we don't typically get that type of thing. You know, you may be going to the gym and your gym buddy's calling you a bunch of names because you're not pushing the weight up on your last rep. Similar, but not the same. So loss of fine motor skills. How many of you pinch the back of your semi-automatic and use that motion to charge your weapon? That's a kind of a fine motor skill because you're doing pinching. Whereas like Mike was showing you earlier, where you come over the top with the grip and push out, that is a gross motor skill because you're using large format, you're using your hand, and you're doing pushing motions. Freezing. Again, like I said, you've gone through 100 different situations where someone's jumped out, again, your kid as an example, and you just react and you're ready to fight. But something happens and you freeze. You don't know when your brain's going to do it. Situations are different. But again, sometimes it's going to happen. Don't be surprised if it does, but it does happen. Typically, that also gets to be where you see the people submitting. So you see the movie where someone gets scared or shocked and all of a sudden they're fine like this, like you're talking, and then all of a sudden they're backing up, they're putting their hands up and stuff like that. They're not totally into the defense. And sometimes you can go from flight into fight mode. It's just another trigger portion that might happen to you psychologically. So when we talked about pupils dilating, tunnel vision happens. Like I said, your eyes dilate down. If you're on drugs, they dilate up. And you start taking in things in a smaller focus because you're focusing on such. Tunnel vision is pretty much the same, but it's more of along of locking onto stuff. So if you see a threat, say it's him, my tunnel vision is going to focus on him. I lose the peripherals, and I don't see the bad guy coming in at my 9 o'clock because I'm focused on him too much. So this is, again, going back to keep your head moving, see what's going on. Put yourself behind barriers or areas where you can see or protect yourself. Auditory exclusion. Again, with the focusing, your tunnel vision, your audio cues, you're starting not to hear them. Some people say during times of stress they hear more stuff. It can happen, but for most people, they stop hearing things. Especially after gunfire goes off, we still have that loud acoustic trauma happen to us, so that kind of deadens our senses as well. Time dilation. How many times have you seen or heard, whether it's in the movies or live crimes or whatever, people say they got hurt and all of a sudden they're either focused on something and they have no idea how much time went by. You know, I got drunk, I blacked out. How long? I don't know, I woke up at noon the next day. You know, time dilation does happen. At the same time though, your adrenaline's kicking in, and depending on what the situation is, I'm talking like boxers, everything goes down into really slow type of situations. Not everyone gets it. It happens different ways to other people. But the more you're used to people dealing with people in traumatic situations, the easier it is to deal with them. Temporary loss of memory. Again, we've seen it many, many times, videos and in reality, as well as police reports. How many shots did you fire? I don't know, 5, 6, 7, I guess. Reading my notes, oh, I fired 10 rounds. Okay. Do you know if they all hit the target? I hope they did. So, again, loss of memory. You may have times where you're not remembering everything that happened, especially still within the first 30 minutes of you having an engagement. So, as Mike was saying earlier, when you're done with your encounter and you're calling 911, you're asking for 2 ambulances, getting up to the hospital and having some time to get that adrenaline out of your system and focus again, you maybe actually have time to start remembering stuff. Remorse. Shooting someone's not a natural occurrence in any of our lives, even us as soldiers or ex-military. Some of us had to, not fun stuff, but remorse. This is where your moral compass kicks in and you're like, I just took a person's life. It's stressful. It causes a lot of heartache. It affects people differently. Anyone ever have to put one of their favorite animals down? That's kind of what's going to happen to you. You know, you have a family member die, that's remorse. You're sad, you're upset. You might be second guessing yourself, which leads down to self-doubt. Did I do everything right? Could I have backed up or yelled commands more or done something that would have made that guy put his firearm or weapon down to a point where I did not have to shoot him? And obviously the very last one, PTSD. So it's been a buzzword or acronym for a long time for post-traumatic stress disorder. Basically, post-traumatic stress disorder or post-traumatic stress can happen when you take your daughter's binky away from her or your son's binky away from when he's 5 years old. You take his favorite teddy bear or whatever and says you're too big to that. Kids can get it that easy. Everyone is built differently. You can have identical twins who go through the same situations, or the same guys go through the same military situations, combat and whatnot. One can be a mental wreck, the other one walks around totally fine. We've seen this through every single war. It happens, it affects people for different things all the time. It may be something about just seeing someone get injured. It may be something that they had to do that they would never do in their lives. We've had veterans who've come back from wars who will never say anything about what they did, what they had happened to them, even if they were at a desk job because they felt so bad about what was going on. PTSD has a lot of different symptoms. A lot of more notable symptoms for people to notice with PTSD is people start having issues with being around other people, anger issues. Anyone know what the term hypervigilance means? No one's answering. Okay. So hypervigilance is almost like saying paranoia. The person is being super sensitive and wants to pay attention to a lot more things around him than he ever did before. Most of us as CCW carriers already want to sit in a position in a restaurant where we can see who's coming in, who's doing things. Our backs are not open to windows. We're behind like brick walls and stuff. These are types of things of saying hypervigilance. Anger management. How are they reacting to anger? Do they get angry easy? Depression, anxiety attacks, panic attacks, being unable to communicate clearly or follow directions, blacking out. These are just some of many disabilities. As a matter of fact, according to the DSM-5, post-traumatic stress, depression, and anxiety share a lot of similar symptoms and affect the person accordingly. So, our next slide is ways of tactics to treat. So again, when we're saying that is, how can you prepare yourself so that these things don't affect you in a regular basis for yourself? So earlier we've talked about training. You can set yourself up with a training program. You can go through other trainers yourselves to train yourself so these things don't happen to you. As a matter of fact, shooting your firearm basically allows you to realize, okay, recoil of a handgun is not going to affect you. It's not a big scary thing, right? When you first started firing guns, or you had your younger sister or brother or your wife shoot guns, they're like, we're afraid the recoil is going to be a lot. I don't like the noise. But by practicing, you're accumulating that noise, the shock recoil, and you're like, okay, this doesn't bother me. So, how to control your sympathetic nervous system. Doc, what is the sympathetic nervous system?
It's not the parasympathetic.
Good answer.
So that's your fight or flight, effectively.
Correct. So again, how do you control your fight or flight? You set yourself up in situations. Like I said earlier, we've all have that situation where the little kid jumps around the corner, yells boo at us. Great, you know, you're now 45, 50, and you've got 3 boys who've done it from the time they're 2 years old to the time they're 18 years old. It doesn't happen. Your heart goes up, but you're not responding in a quick and jerky reaction. So you can do certain things and train yourself by going to simulators, training, and whatnot to have an idea of that. I will have my adrenaline, my cardiovascular system all kick in, and I can still react in a functional manner without shutting down. Tactical breathing. Who's heard of tactical breathing other than the military guys? Okay. What do you think tactical breathing is?
You're at it out so you get your shot off without, muzzle rise and muzzle going down from breathing.
Okay. So very close to that, but basically knowing how to control your breathing during a situation. Martial artists practice it, boxers practice it, sports people practice it. It doesn't necessarily need to have the tactical aspect to it, but being able to control your breathing to do what you need to do in a way that's not preventing you from doing so. Most of us, when we're shooting, especially long range or rifles, we breathe in, we breathe out, and just as we're about to bottom out, that's where we hold, and then we squeeze the trigger. Depends on how you were trained. Eye movement and observation. Already said it a couple times before. To fight the tunnel vision, to fight the dilation of your optics, you're going to move your head, you're going to move your body. You know, if you're military and you were in a turret or something, you are actively patrolling, actively sweeping your sectors and such, so that you're not focused on one thing, you get eye strain or whatever. So you're moving your head and stuff around so that, again, just like I'm doing now, I walk back and forth so I can see the screen through my peripheral sometimes and keep up with you without having to do that. So it's keeping your head moving, doing it. Stress inoculation training. Again, this is where you can put yourself and train in to induce stress to pressure you to either do better or so you can react. So, how many of you seen the videos where the guys have the timers and they beep at you? Okay, so that's a stress induction by timing. So anyone who's gone through a DOJ course or anything like that, one of the things is, okay, you've got 5 seconds to draw your weapon, put rounds on range, drop a mag, reload, and put 2 more in. That's stress-induced training. The idea is for you to have that cardiovascular and everything's going on there, and the mental stuff. Because again, no one wants to fail, right? Go, no-goes during the military, you know, you have to pass your driving test, you have to pass your audio or visual test, because we don't want to lose things. So mentally, as human beings, if we say, if you don't pass this, you're going to fail, that puts stress on us. So class is practical training. get those done. The more training you have, the more different ideas and scenarios you can think of, the more you can practice them and realize, I can do that. Brainstorm a bunch of crazy stuff. I mean, the military, we sit there and talk about Z-Day. Anyone know what Z-Day is? Zombie apocalypse, when can our base survive the zombies? Are they fast-moving zombies? Are they slow-moving zombies? Stupid stuff like that. Repetition to build muscle memory. Mike mentioned this before. 5,000 repetitions to kind of get your muscle memory down. Now, does that mean every day you're just sitting here doing this all day long? You're doing that? No, you don't have to. You get done doing enough, you can just sit here and go, okay, how does this go? Put my shirt up, bring it up here, and you're visualizing that. That works too, but it doesn't mean it's the same as actually hands-on, moving the gun, getting it in and out of stuff. Range time. It always is good to get bullets on range. See if all that practice you're putting in actually shows quantitative data, okay? The other thing with range time. So, who's heard of stuff like the build drill? Okay. So, when we have different types of drills, it shows us how well we can do, and it gives us different metrics on doing things. How many of you practice shooting on the range, not this indoor range, on a range with multiple targets? Good. Transition drills from rifles to pistols, pistols to rifles. Being able to load your pistol with one hand and charge it, Can you shoot with your offhand? Can you shoot only with your strong hand? Have any of you heard of the 10-dot drill? You have 10 large 3-inch circles, and you stand at either 3, 7, 5, 10, and each circle has draw with your strong hand, put 3 in, and it's an accuracy test for that circle with strong arm, offhand, multiple shots and stuff, and you go through about 50 rounds per the 10 dots, and you can see how well your aiming and your techniques are for it. Range time. You can put all the nickel drills, you can do all the trigger manipulations or dry firing, but sometimes you actually need to put bullets downrange on targets to see if your practice is bearing fruit. Simulations with time constraints. Just got done mentioning that. One of our DOJ qualifications. Okay, you're at 7 meters, you draw, you do 2 rounds to the head, 2 rounds to the chest, do a tactical reload, and then 1 to the head, and you have 3 seconds. Go. Threat, gun, whatever. That will put some stress on it, because now you have to put rounds on target. You also have to do a headshot after a reload in a time frame. So we talked about earlier, smooth is fast, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Practice your reloads. Most of us, when we're out in this range, don't practice dropping a mag and doing a tactical reload. In a combat situation, if you don't practice, if you don't always carry a secondary mag, those things are going to limit you and limit the ability for you to survive. Education. Most of the people in this class have already signed up with USCCA, so you have access to other sources of education. There are plenty of things you can find on YouTube. There's a ton of gun tubers who provide decent content. But reality is, you're probably going to want some type of one-on-one or group training where you are learning weapon skills or other skills that you may need. First aid skills. How to pick out a good first aid case or first aid supplies so that you have something for your house. Because because you have some Band-Aids and hydrogen peroxide in your medicine cabinet, don't equate to having a tourniquet and a chest seal in case someone gets shot. Because, if you're in a place and your wife gets shot and it's a chest wound, You want to know how to put a chest seal on her, or put a tourniquet on her, and how to mark it and know what's going on. So education is a good thing to do, especially when it comes to first aid. You mentioned this in the very beginning yesterday, avoidance. Part of your training is this. You're going to be going from here from Nevada to California, or you're already in California. You're going to go to some place that you've never heard of before. Do you know if it's a good place to go? Is it a bad place to go? Are you going through Oakland to the Bay Area? Do you know what the rules and regulations are for Oakland versus the Bay Area? We mentioned it earlier. Bay Area does not allow you to carry, San Francisco does not allow you to carry hollow points. You're not allowed to carry police ammunition. So it has to be, so Mike mentioned this earlier when we were talking about ammunition. Winchester, Ranger ammo.
We haven't talked about that yet.
You did,
No.
briefly. But you need to know what type of ammunition you can carry. You need to know what's going on. You need to do some recon and know if it's a good area. If you know it's not going to be a good area, that carjackings happen and you know, you go into the gas store, your car is gone, or you're getting mugged and stuff. Would it be better to, if you were with your wife and your kids, to avoid that than drive through it? Yeah, we're going to go around Oakland today. It's going to take us an extra 30 minutes. I'd rather do an extra 30 minutes in the car, hang out with the kids, than worry about someone doing or seeing something to us. Or again, with BLM and some of the other riots and stuff up in Portland and Oregon and Washington. Why go up there if they're having that, right? Unless you absolutely positively need to. Forethought. It goes right in hand with avoidance. Think about what you're going to do. What do I need? Do I need my medical bag to go there? Yeah, probably not. Am I going during winter? Do I have winter supplies so that if my car goes off the road, I have stuff for that? Thermal blankets, food, water, in case I'm stuck there for a couple hours waiting for a CHP or a tow truck. Going back to training, randomized scenarios to build baseline muscle memory. So some of you heard me talking about when we were doing gadget stuff and dry fire mags, about taking that same type of training at home and setting up like circles and stuff and making a game with your wife and your kids about aiming at the dots and hitting the targets, identifying and then hitting the targets with the laser. That's enough ways to sit there and start randomizing scenarios, move the dots around. Or how many of you people have heard of V-boards? So it's that big old board with all the holes and notches you can shoot out of and around. You shoot behind barriers and such, okay? Because again, if you're outside and you're in the world's most dangerous parking lot, hopefully there's some cover for you, right? So, on a car, is it better to stand behind the doors or behind the wheel and engine block?
Engine block.
Right. So you got more cover there than you would through a normal door. You know, A construction vehicles, pillars. So on your doors and your door frame, those are fairly dense material and stuff as well. So if you know what's going on and you have a situation where you're thinking about this in advance, you have a better idea of what you want to do. The military does this all the time with us in different things. As civilians, we don't kind of get that. You know, usually we just get the, oh, there's a horror movie. I would never do that, right? So, if you sit there and train yourself with randomized scenarios, you can give yourself some baseline memory of, hey, I've thought something about this. This is what I should do. So, in Lassen County or California, there are California-based behavioral health aspects you can get a hold of and call. There are federal ones as well. So how many of you are familiar with 911? Okay, have you heard of 988 yet? So that is the national phone number for behavioral health and PTSD to call in on. So in Lassen County, because again, most of us are talking about going to Lassen County, some of us will be going to other counties in California. We have the National Mental Health Hotline, again, like I said, 988. There is a text crisis line, so again, you can text, talk, or 741-741, 741-741, and you can actually have a text conversation if you don't want your voice on a recording and stuff. They're still going to be tracking you through your phone number, so that if you're having incidences or you're saying something's going on, they may call the cops or the ambulance and make sure they're there to assist you. NAMI, National Alliance for Mental Health and Illness. 800 number, this is a federal, covers all 50 states. Same with the National Suicide Prevention Line. We have 2 of these in California for Lassen County, behavioral health, as well as the alcohol and drug offices. They have professionally trained staff there who can help you either get you into some type of treatment program, see about talking to you to see if you need help. Depends on how much your income is, whatever was going on. So these are some of the other ones. If you guys need or want a copy of this information for while you're in Lassen County, contact us. We can send you all that information for you to put in your phone, or you can screenshot this now or keep a picture of it from the website, and that way you have it while you're in Lassen County. If you guys are going to again be in other counties, I highly recommend that you go online, you go to that county's websites and look at their resources available for you. Because again, just because you're going into that county for whatever thing you're doing, you may run into people, or you may have family members that are going through PTSD and other issues, and need to have that communication with someone else to get them some help. If they're a veteran that you know and it's in another county, look up the county's veteran service officer, talk to him about getting some help for your friend who might be having some PTSD or other behavioral health issues. Does anyone have any questions before we move on? Yes, sir.
Kind of off of that, is there like a one-stop shop? If I want to know, like you're talking about over in San Francisco, ball ammo versus hollow points, or is it just each county check the sheriff's, you know?
So Sean from USCCA earlier went over some of that. There are different apps, but USCCA, and there's, like I said, there's a couple different ones that will allow you to select which county you're going to and what things will be pertaining to you for that county. We don't have that per se as an instructor. That is part of when we say it's your continued education that you need to do. And that's again why we also recommend California
Well, like that.
Pistol Association.
California Department of Justice website.
They have that, yes.
You go on there, do they have it to where you can select the county and then it'll run through?
No.
Okay, it's not set up that way.
Nope. And even, again, SB2 and is the new laws that came out. So even when the new law has been adjudicated and is against the former laws that were passed in California, the DOJ website doesn't update right away. So you may have heard that Law 81234, that's not one, just got revoked or changed over. You go to the DOJ website, it may be 6 months to a year before that website reflects the new law. And that's,
Do they take effect immediately?
the law will depend on what, the date of where it's at. So the judgment may have been today, but the law may not go into effect till January, July, or whatever, whether it's pro or against our right Second Amendment gun. So again, just like any other country or state, you go into that, you need to know the laws. Your ongoing continued education and education to making sure you and your family are safe is important. Therefore, you need to look and research.
Got it.
Yes, sir.
So question, because I heard him mention it yesterday, you know those hollow points that have like the little plastic in them?
Right.
Is there any place to look up, is that really a hollow point or is that a solid bullet where the plastic comes out when it makes contact?
So that would, again, typically be a good thing with the manufacturer to say how they word things. But here's the problem. Just because the manufacturer says one thing and they have a million different people say this is what it is, does not mean that this gentleman with the sheriff's department or that DA is going to take sides with that manufacturer. Who's heard of FRTs? Okay, and they've said that is not a machine gun, it's a forced reset trigger. Well, guess what? DOJ said machine gun part, even though it's not. And they had specialists and FBI and DOJ people saying, no, that's not a machine gun part. So again, just because the manufacturer says it is one thing, doesn't mean it is. Short barrel rifles and pistol braces. Same thing. It's a pistol brace. Oh no, it's an extended stock or a folded stock and therefore makes it an SBR, da 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 da. So we will always in this field of Second Amendment gun laws and gun rights have someone come up with some idea, market it, it's a good idea, and the DOJ may say yes initially and change their mind, especially along pistol braces and such like that. So it is always your guys' best interest to be aware of what's going on before you put things on your firearms and you go into certain areas. Is that piece going to be allowed? So again, slightly going back to gadgets and stuff. Braces. Are you allowed to have a folding brace or a collapsible brace in California?
Probably neither. I'm guessing neither.
Well, you can, because the law went away. But they don't like, California doesn't like folders, but they like collapsibles. So, again, if you have a pistol brace on your pistol, are you allowed to put that up to your shoulder in California?
Probably not.
You are not. So, you're allowed to have them on, but the moment you take it from here to a brace to up to your shoulder, it becomes a stock, and now you have a short barrel rifle for all intents and purposes, and they will arrest you for that. So again, if you don't know the nuances of the law,
You mean if somebody's if you're at the range doing that?
they typically don't bother you. But again, that may be fine. You may go through 10 days, 10 different cops, and then you'll have that one cop who's like, yeah, you're not supposed to do that. And he may come up and say, hey, were you aware that if you put that up to your shoulder, that can get you into trouble? Or if you have a range safety officer who's really cognizant of some of the laws, may up there do the same thing and tell you, hey, you shouldn't do that because you could get in trouble for that. But if you know the laws in advance for the stuff you have, don't do that.
Misdemeanor or felony?
For the brace portion, that's a misdemeanor. But still, as a CCW holder, if you have a firearm related anything, kiss that goodbye. So again, like we said, if you put certain counties in California, right now Contra Costa, you have a red dot, a flashlight, a laser, stuff to ideally help you identify and be more accurate with shooting targets, i.e. they're illegal to have on your gun. So if I went out there with all that whiz bang, so who's familiar with the Shadow Systems firearms? Okay, all they are is basically Glocks with all the bells and whistles on them, right? So you've just bought yourself a firearm that you don't have to upgrade because it already has the red dot, it already has the ported barrels and stuff like that. you're not going to get that registered in Contra Costa because it has all the things they don't want you to have. Now, are you going to get in trouble if you take your shadow system into Contra Costa? There's a pretty good chance of it if you get stopped. But are you breaking their laws? Depends on what the cop says. Oh, you're from Lassen County. That's legal in Lassen County. Why don't you just get out of here with your gun, and remember, next time you come to Contra Costa, carry your stock Glock. And of course, now we have the Glock law that just went through. So as of July of next year, no Glocks, or no Glocks with the cruciform trigger. Now you have to go to the Glock V series.
I thought they were already suing on that one.
They probably, no, Glock is not. Glock has already said they're discontinuing their line and they're not going to produce the old Glock series 1 through 5.
And no more sales, right? No more sales after the first of the year.
For the old Glocks. The new V series, they will.
Okay, good.
But we've gone away from all this. We're going on to a 5-minute break. It's after 11, or a 10-minute break. So, go get your snackies, lickies, bathroom time, and be back in 10.
Is the red dot